Good morning, it's Elaine with Elaine's Custom Cards, and this morning I'm going to show you how I made this card. It's a, well, we call it a fun fold. It's just folded different. Let me tell you what I used. For the black piece on the front, I used the Stitch So Sweetly dies, and it was the second to the largest. And then for the flowers, I used the Flowering Blooms. I used this. For the thank you, I used the thank you on the Lots of Heart. And for the inside, the So Very Much came from Forever and Always, and I just masked this off. You can mask it off with a piece of tape, and then put your Versamark ink on there, take the tape off, and then stamp it. And I use gold embossing powder on this. Turned out really pretty. This is Flirty Flamingo, and then basic black, and then the paper is the True Love Designer Series paper. And I took a piece of this, and this is 4 inches wide by 12. And then I took my blending brushes and dipped it in the Flirty Flamingo and just started coloring the flowers, the bigger flowers. And then when I was done with that, I took some Daffodil Delight and colored in the Daffodil Delight just wherever I thought it looked good. And then I used Old Olive for a little bit of green in there. And that's how I colored the paper. I just did it like this. Turned out, I was just experimenting, and I liked the way it turned out. And after I colored this, then I started trimming. And let me tell you how I trimmed it so you know the sizes. I'll tell you as we're putting it together. And the ribbon is the Whisper White ribbon. It's very thin. So let's put this together. This is, like I said, Flirty Flamingo, 8.5 by 5.5, and I scored it at 2 1/8 on each end, so it would fold and meet in the middle. Okay. Then I took my panels, and this piece I trimmed. Well, the black is, each black piece is 1 7/8 by 5 1/4, and there's 2 of those, one for each side. And then this piece, I trimmed them 1 3/4 by 5 1/8, and I made them so that they line up. They match in the center. And then the leftover piece, because this was 4 inches wide, is 1/2 inch by 4 7/8, because my inside piece is 4 7/8 by 3 5/8, and I wanted this on the end. And to stamp this, I put this piece on here so I'd know where to line this up, so it was centered here and here. I used my Versamark and then gold embossing powder. And then the inside piece for the card, the black, is 4 by 5 1/4, and I cut my centerpiece out of this because this is going to be covered up. You aren't going to see it anyway. So that's how I did that. And then I stamped this with Versamark and used gold embossing powder on here, and I'll show you that after I put the card together, in case you don't know how to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is glue these pieces like this. This is, I always say this, but this is a really simple card. Probably the thing that, it's not really hard, but you have to be careful that you don't overheat your embossing powder. And that's about the only thing that's you have to watch out for. So we're going to adhere these two pieces together, just like so, and then these two. I want to put this card all together, and then I'm going to show you how I emboss this. Put those together, get those lined up, just like so. Make sure we're still matching up in the center. And then we'll put one of these on each side of the flaps of this card. Just like so. Now, when you put the other side on, you're going to want to make sure that you line up here and here. And make sure you're still matching up your pattern. Just like so. And like I said, you just need to line up the top and the bottom so that it's level across here and across here. That's why I cut one piece of the Designer Series paper and the black cardstock, so I know they were exactly the same size. Okay? Now, this piece, let me show you really, well, let's finish the inside first. Let's do this. We'll do that piece last. Let's open up your card, and we're going to adhere this black piece to the inside. Now you don't have to cut this center out if you don't want. You can use another piece of black. I just figured it was being covered up, so might as well take advantage of it and use the center of it. Just like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere this piece to the inside on the left side of this panel. The reason I'm adhering it before I adhere it to my card is in case I need to trim anything off the top or bottom after I put it on. I tried to make it exact. It's just easier to line up if you do this before you glue it to the card. And I use liquid glue because it has a little bit of wiggle room. So I'm going to just trim just a little bit off the end of this, like so, and then adhere this to the inside. But you want to do all your stamping and embossing before you put this down, because if you make a mistake, you can always use the back of your cardstock. So you center that on there, just like so. Okay, now let's work on this piece. I'm going to tell you how I did this before I put it on there. I took my Stamparatus and I put that piece of cardstock on here, and then I put this down right in the very center of my card, because I'm going to cut this out like this. And what you're going to want to do is take your embossing buddy, if you have one, and just put a little bit on there in case you've touched this. Stampin' Up! Used to sell these. I don't know what's in here. It just gets any fingerprints off that you might have gotten on there. from your hands, oils and things, hand cream, whatever. You don't want your embossing powder to stick anywhere but on this. And so then you ink this up with your Versamark. Get it good and inked up. And stamp it down. I always put the lid on that so I don't accidentally get embossing powder in there. Ink that up. Yes, that looks good. I always take it off of here and move this. Don't want embossing powder all over that. Put a piece of paper down. Take your embossing powder. Put it all over your image there. And I pick it up. Back in here. Put the lid on your embossing powder so you don't blow it everywhere. Take your heat tool. Warm it up. I'm sorry, it's loud. And you're just going to emboss until you see it's shiny. See how it changes color? Just like so. And that's all there is to it. And then you'll take your thank you after you've cut this out on your Stampin' emboss machine. Then you can position your thank you on there. And that's all there is to that. This is ready to make another card. Okay, now let's get some of this stuff out of my way and we'll finish putting this card together. So what I did with this, and you don't have to, but I put dimensionals on the back of this. So we're going to do that. And I just put it on this side here. So I put actually 6. And I wanted these kind of close together so that they wouldn't go over. I don't want you to see them on the other side. When you open the card, you don't want to see your dimensionals. So I put those on there. Like I said, this card is very simple. I don't like to get too complicated with my cards. I like to keep them simple because if they're complicated, then you can't make as many. So then I just put this centered on the front. And if you did it correctly, you shouldn't be able to see any of those dimensionals on the back. And then I took my ribbon that I tied in a bow, put a glue dot on the back, put it on the flowers right about here. And then I took some pearls and I used the small ones, and I just put a few pearls on I put 3 pearls on the front of this card. That, and your card's done. Just like that. And you've got a really nice, beautiful thank you card that you can give to someone. Now you can put this a little bit closer if you don't like that little gap. This one doesn't have a gap, but this one ended up with a small gap. When you fold it, you can fold it to where it actually touches. That's your card. I hope you like it. If you'd like to see more of my creations, give me a thumbs up, like my video, subscribe, and I try to do at least one video a week. It's not always on the same day, just depends on my schedule. So you have a blessed day and have fun stamping. I want to remind you that I have a host code, and if you push the little down arrow, it'll show you my host code for the month of January. You can also go to my blog and my online store down there to purchase these. We're right in the very middle of Celebration for getting free items. I've done a few videos on what is free. I would love to have you as a customer, and if you're interested in signing up as a demonstrator, you don't have to do what I'm doing. You can just be a hobby demonstrator and you can get the products at a discount. So for $99, you get $125 worth of product plus a bonus package of the new In Colors 6x6 Designer Series paper. It'll be in the next catalog, the annual catalog. So this is the inside of the card. Very simple card, easy to make, just a little bit of embossing. So anyway, have fun stamping and have a wonderful day.